Hey Anurag, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hey Divyansh, it's so nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, man, awesome. So I'm super excited to have you here on this episode of the podcast because I want to understand the fitness and the tech spaces coming together in a way to culminate in the form of insane AI, which is your endeavor, and the fact that you are also working on creating the fitness metaverse, because this is something which is currently trending and it has big potential as well. I'm really interested in this space as well. So, all throughout this conversation, we're going to talk about insane AI, we're going to talk about technology. And from you at the very end, we can also understand how you went about in your entrepreneurial journey. So, you're a serial entrepreneur as well. So, as a person, and as you know, the audience also would love to know more about that as well, right? So, before we even deep dive into insane AI, right, I would personally as well like to know more about you as a person and what has kept you motivated and how did you reach this place where you're doing insane AI. Over to you, man.
So yeah, I'll start with a quick background so everyone knows the basics at least. So
Yeah.
I'm an IT graduate, joined IT in 2011, was there for 5 years. I was not into academics, so of course, like to get into IIT, I was into academics, but when I got there, I just got excited by so many different things that I sort of became like a jack of all trades. I did a couple of startups. I worked with a couple of startups. In my final year, I started my own company, which was in healthcare. So that was called Med. It got acquired by 1MG later on. But health is something which was already very important to me back then because I had some family background in diagnostics. And I really got excited by the possibility of doing preventive healthcare, right? So, like understanding the body, understanding what's going on within it before the need to actually treat some problem comes up. So my startup was about that. We were enabling preventive diagnostics through an app. We would get the tests, get the samples from home, get the tests done online. And the core USP was that we would provide a lot of data-driven insights, progress tracking, reminders, and so on regarding the preventive health of our users. So that was my foray into health. That lasted about 2.5 years before acquisition. So that was one of the biggest transformative experiences, like starting up in college without any experience, with just diving deep into it without thinking about the pros and cons, without thinking about any dependence you may have, because of course you don't have any responsibilities in college and can do anything, right? So we scaled a bit, like we grew to about 100 labs, 1,000 patients per day before we got acquired. But the greatest learning there was basically data and technology can really be used to change the information asymmetry. So patients do not have any awareness about their health markers, right? The education, the health education specifically in our country is really, really bad. People don't know how to manage their cholesterol, what kind of diets are good for diabetes, and just having a better picture into your own health through a better diagnostic system, to having a more insightful report at the end of the day, which is like in a digital format, gives patients a lot more power and control just because they have that information readily accessible. So health, like I got really passionate about health and optimizing human health and performance through that experience. And that was one of the core things, which also later on was an influence in me starting up Insane. The other thing I really enjoyed right from childhood is gaming, right? So I was so into gaming. I like got the first few 3D games like Descent 2, Wolf was fake 3D, but then Quake and all the initial few 3D gaming, and they just blew my mind apart, right? Like having a 3D environment within a game on a monitor, which before that just used to have games like Dave, right, or Mario, which were just small sprites moving around. But when it's a 3D world, it's an actual virtual world in which you can actually believe that you are inside it and you're part of it. So that really got me excited, and got me excited to such a big extent that I started doing 3D animation, 3D modeling, graphics,
Oh,
right in school
nice.
itself. So I made a couple of short animations, created some models, played around with some scripting and game engines and stuff. But yeah, it did not go too far because IIT happened, right? And
Yeah.
the run up to IIT, you have to basically drop everything. At least I dropped everything and just started studying single-mindedly for that. But yeah, when in IIT again, IITs are great for one thing primarily, and that's exploration.
Hmm.
You can have exposure to all sorts of different things. You have college fairs going around, you have tech, you have newsletters, you have range of different things. And I got into marketing. I got into editing. Like I had a couple of newsletters I was involved with. I was the chief editor of
Hmm.
Lightsaber, which was this college tech newsletter where we were
Yeah.
reporting on all that that's happening in different student bodies. And I was also part of Unsight, which was a satirical college newsletter. So, but yeah, like going from that, post my first startup, I decided I wanted to explore that facet, the gaming facet of my life
Hmm.
in more
Hmm.
detail. And I went back to university. I joined Professor Arjun Jain, who is
Okay.
adjunct professor at IIT Bombay in computer graphics and animation, to basically get deeper into the virtual world, 3D perception as well as 3D graphics side of things.
Hmm.
Published a couple of papers. That work led to autonomous driving. So it turns out computer graphics and computer vision are very correlated.
Yeah.
For autonomous driving, we're trying to solve the problem of human perception. So when a car is driving around in urban areas in cities, basically needs to navigate a lot of pedestrians, a lot of riders, and for understanding the intention of pedestrians, even simple things like whether someone in front of you is going to cross the road or not.
Hmm.
We as humans do a lot of compute in our head. We understand their posture, we understand emotion, we understand their eye gestures and eye gaze and stuff. And all of this is now possible with deep learning, when computers are able to understand human pose, human motion,
Right.
intention,
Right.
with the help of obviously large data sets which are annotated by humans. So yeah, worked on that, published a couple of papers in computer vision, and right after that work, we also did a project for Mercedes-Benz for autonomous driving.
Right.
But it was the culmination of these 3-4 things I mentioned, which led
Hmm.
to insane AI. Luckily, I met Jayesh and Saurabh, my amazing co-founders, who were
Yeah.
also interested in cameras, in computer vision, in fitness, and all of these things came together. So it basically health, which
Hmm.
I picked up in my first startup, like passion about human performance optimization and health. And it's computer vision, the technology which enables our AI motion tracking at Insane, and it's gaming, which sort of wraps the whole thing up into a combined experience.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's all three of them are sort of in this business, so it's like
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about these three facets of Insane AI.
Interesting, man. I think you actually put across a amazing story for me to actually go back to and pick up. And I want to know that you three of you met say in IIT, and you had similar interests, and that's how you got together and started working on Insane AI. And what was the problem you actually understood before working on Insane AI? What was it?
Right. So Jay, Saurabh, and I know each other since the first year of college. All three of us were together in electrical engineering at IIT Bombay. We went our different ways. Jayesh went to Japan after graduation, worked at Sony for I think 4.5 years. Saurabh worked at Goldman Sachs, and then also did some consultancy projects. I did some of them together with him. But when we met after that, we basically connected on two things. The first was a shared love and interest in the AI and computer
Hmm.
vision technology, which are very recent, right? Like cameras have begun to see like humans in the last few years, which is possible because of for a bunch of reasons, mainly software improvements, algorithm improvements, and also hardware improvements. So that was something that we really connected on. We started discussing ideas on how we can do deep learning better, make cooler
Hmm.
applications work on the edge, which use augmented reality, which use post tracking, face detection, and so on. We just sort of exploring that entire space, very new, a lot of real possibilities in every domain, practically every domain. We were discussing fashion, we were discussing commerce, we were also discussing security at one point of time. But then fitness was something which we were always coming back to, and we had multiple reasons for that. So all three of us had different have had tried fitness, have tried different forms of fitness. Some have worked, some have not. But we could all connect on a one common problem, that it's hard to maintain your motivation for an extended period of time. Right, so that happens to everyone. Everyone who has started a fitness journey would have dropped off it at some point of time, would have come back, would have dropped off. It's always a process,
correct,
until you develop a rock solid habit which you never break. And that problem is especially acute when you're just starting out. Of course, once you have your set routines, once you have a habit established, it keeps on going. But when just to get to that position, you have to have a lot of motivation, have to have a lot of habit hacks to create those small progress in your daily routines. So that's something we felt was like an actual consumer problem or user problem which we could solve. Computer vision then was just a tech, it was an enabler. What we thought that we could put that technology onto our smartphones, really optimized the compute required, the deep learning could be done on the phone. And in essence, every user, every person could have a motivating AI trainer right on their phone itself. And we experimented with different things there. We tried out like an actual virtual trainer, like a personified AI which could help you out. We tried having like a actual human behind it which would use that AI to help you out, to track you and provide you motivation offline via chats, etc. But what we really saw potential in was gamification, right? So like small rewards, small nudges, small habit formation hooks, which we could incorporate into the product journey itself, prove really impactful in maintaining a habit. So that's something where we built a POC out, we tested it, we got really positive response from our users, our initial cohort of beta users who were hooked on it. Yeah, so it was basically the tech combined with the motivational angle, which we solved via gamification, which led to the conception of Insane.
So I think since I've used the app, the most interesting thing which I find on Insane AI is the fact that the camera can trap my reps which I do doing push-ups and squats and count them for me, and then even motivate me along the way. I think I have not seen that happening too much in other apps, and I think more than just the rewards, the points that you get, and then probably you can actually cash it out for vouchers and stuff. This tech where we don't need a human to come in between, right, and motivate you to work out is the most interesting part for me. And probably you are taking it a step further by building probably the fitness metaverse, which we'll talk about. So tell me one more thing, Anurag. I think you talked about tech. Since you guys are from IIT and IIT is known for tech, did you guys work on the tech from scratch, or was it already there for you to work on?
Right. So we worked on the tech from scratch, in the sense we have worked on similar tech before. So previous to this, when I was at Mercedes-Benz, we basically built out a network, a computer vision network, which could do different perceptions of the human body all in one. It was basically a multitask network which could do different tasks in the same sort of forward pass of the network. And very, very similar tech. It takes input video, spews out predictions at every frame. So there are 30 frames in a second. We have 30 predictions from the neural network every second. Then there is a temporal network on top top of it, which takes these 30 predictions all together. If you're taking the entire previous second's worth of information, does again some another neural network on top of it, which takes in all this temporal information and makes predictions or makes estimates about what's happened in the last 1 second. So I'm simplifying. There's a lot more happening at different time scales, at different steps in this process. There are also some heuristics built on top of these neural networks to make the final decisions. But in essence, it's a stack of neural networks which predict from the image to the final properties that we care about when a user is working out. So I wouldn't say all of the tech is new. Human pose estimation or human motion tracking is quite an established subject. People have been doing it for animations, right? So you see movies like Tintin, for example, and there is a dog which is moving around there. So the dog has actually not been, it has been motion captured, right? The skeleton of the dog has been captured using cameras, and that same motion has been translated onto the character. It's the same tech, but what's new in this tech is that now it's possible to do it on mobile. Mobile processors have become fast enough neural networks, and of course the algorithms for doing motion tracking from a single camera have also now become possible. So we can do it on phones, and that is where the novelty is, or where the newness of it is, that with such low compute and in a form factor that every user has, we can now do this. And so you mentioned that you were most excited by rep counting and the fact that we can track these movements very accurately. So I would like to explain that. So what we strongly believe is that what gets measured gets managed, right? So we go beyond wearables to measure a lot more of your workout. With a wearable, you can measure your heart rate, you can measure some activity. Like your steps, for example, but you cannot really tell which exercise was being done or how many reps of it were being done. And even further, you cannot tell how well a certain rep of a squat or a push-up was being done. What we're able to do with computer vision is obviously count reps of each exercise. So we know how many squats you have done, we know how deep you have gone into each of those squats. We know if there is something wrong with your form, and we can give you warnings to correct that. So all of this is not possible today with just wearable devices. You can think of it in this way. So a wearable is 1 point. It's the wrist position. With 6 degrees of freedom, but essentially tracking 1 point on your body. Whereas with computer vision, we're able to track 21 points, and we use information from these 21 points on your body to make informed predictions or informed estimates of your exercise.
So tell me one thing, what were the challenges you faced while implementing these techs? Because I know that even training the AI is an aspect which you have to take into account, because you have poses, you have different exercises, right? So what were the challenges you faced, and how much time did it take for you to actually build upon it and deliver these exciting technologies?
So building a POC is easy, right? So getting from 0 to 90 is just 10% of the job. Getting from 90 to 99 is the remaining 90%. So I would say we build the POC in a month's time, right? That's I mean, of course, we had the background of having the tech blocks, knowing what the tech blocks are, having a good idea of what the architecture of the overall system would look like, because we have worked on similar systems before. So getting the first POC out, which could track body motion, which could detect which exercises were being done, and roughly count the reps of each of those exercises, took a month's time. And that's including having like a small data set collection, having all the algorithms written out, figuring out what libraries to use, and so on. Where we spend the remaining 90% of our time, which is close to a year, and of course we are still always improving and iterating upon the tech that's already there, was in getting this accuracy from 90% to 99%. So there are a lot of edge cases. Every body is different. Every body moves differently. Even the right posture for different people is different, right? Some people do squat with wider legs, some do it with legs closer to each other. And this is just because of our core anatomical differences. And Not just that, there's a lot of variability. Since we're just using a camera, there's a lot more variability in lighting, in clothing conditions, in how you're placing the phone, and just solving for all of these different edge cases is what took up most of our time. um, so yeah, it's a constant process. Always we have to continue to improve upon it. We don't take data from our users. All the data is taken from open sources. We're building upon that. We're building tech to improve the accuracy on edge cases with very limited amount of data. So that's where the challenge lies, and that's where we are continuing to improve as we add more and more exercises.
Interesting. And since I've been into fitness for a while and used tons of apps in that domain, tell me one thing, man, because there is so much happening in the fitness space right now, especially with the advent of Web3 and the Metaverse, right? Move to earn is now something which is predominant in that space. Why? I think you guys started before that, and when you started, you might have actually done this research that fitness apps do exist, and motivation was still being given by the apps in terms of rewards in some way. For example, Sweatcoin is an app which rewards you to walk, right, in terms of sweat coins, and you can actually purchase stuff from their shop. Why was there a need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to fitness from your perspective? Because there's so much already happening, and how do you find your space in that market? That's the question.
Yes, that's a great question. Of course, one core difference with everyone else is we're not just about steps, right? We go beyond just step tracking with workout tracking, with advanced camera-powered workout tracking, which can track every motion that your body can do. So that's one core aspect of how we are different from every move to earn app out there. But at the core of it, in terms of the core product experience that we're building out, we really want to make the experience of working out itself a lot more engaging, a lot more fun and motivational. So if you try a workout on Insane today, it's not a regular video based workout. Whereas just to contrast it, so if you go onto YouTube, you pick up a workout video, you start following along, and you just have to mindlessly do whatever the trainer is telling you to do. You just follow what they're doing, and there is no interactivity. You can basically shut off your brain and just dumbly follow along with that. What we seek to do with the Insane experience is to have a super interactive, dynamic and engaging workout. Every rep that you do will instantaneously give you feedback, will show your points, will show your ranking in comparison to everyone else who has done that workout before. And it will give you feedback on how well you did a rep. So if you go deeper into your squat, you get more points. You actually see that visually happening, that you did something correctly or not. And what is true in a lot of areas and also here is that immediate feedback leads to immediate habit changes or immediate learning. So you see that even with the continuous glucose monitors, for example, which are doing really well these days, right? With ultra-human levels, etc., doing well. So of course you can also get like a sugar measurement every morning and let that decide your plan, for example. But just having that instantaneously, knowing right after you ate something how that impacted your sugar level is super impactful. You immediately change your habit. There's a lot faster learning, a lot faster iteration cycle in your habits. The same thing happens when you get immediate feedback during the workout. You see exactly what you're doing, how you're doing it, and what you're doing wrong. Leads to improved learning, improved motivation, and just lets you level up faster. So that is one core aspect where we seek to completely revamp the workout experience as it is done today. And I'm specifically talking about home workouts. When you go to the gym, there are of course a lot of other factors such as your phone being around. And the second bit is just having a lot more deeper picture into your health itself. So once you have done the workout, we have a complete report of your workout. We know which body parts you have impacted. We show you leveling up across 5 components of your health and fitness. Just gives you like a very deep understanding and picture of your holistic health.
Awesome, man. think that's a great answer. And I also want to know that I talked about the metaverse and Web3. So since these spaces are booming in a big way and move to earn is now a thing, a mainstream thing, uh, how do you think you can capitalize on this the metaverse domain? I think you're already doing something on that front by creating a fitness metaverse. So will it impact you in a positive way? Are you taking it in a positive way and building something on that that's gonna take the fitness to the next level in some way or make it more interactive? What are you doing with that for the metaverse?
So I would like to say a controversial thing here. I do not equate Web3 with the metaverse, right? Web3 people will come after me and say that I'm wrong, but for me, metaverse is not Web3. Metaverse is an online social space where you can connect, where you can be together, where you can experience things together, and where you may also be in 3D virtual avatar forms, right? In a shared 3D virtual space.
Yeah.
So that is what metaverse is for me. Web3 is an enabling technology which enables interoperability of worlds created by different companies. But metaverse in essence does not need that interoperability. The biggest metaverses today are Fortnite, Meta, Horizon, and Minecraft, for instance, which are centralized, which are not on a Web3 infrastructure.
Correct.
So for us, the metaverse, maybe Web3 in the future, today it's Web2. What it means is that when you come onto the platform, you start off with an avatar. That is your virtual representation of you, your fitness levels, your experience, and you can customize it according to how you look. And as you level up in the game, as you gain more and more experience points, your avatar also levels up along with you. You can use this avatar to compete in workout battles online. You can use this avatar to express yourself with the brands, the fitness brands or clothing brands that you really like, and you can basically grow fitter, become fitter in the real world as your avatar levels up in the virtual world. And that is what the metaverse means for us, where this virtual embodiment of your fitness is present in this virtual world.
Awesome, man. So tell me one thing. You said that essentially you're going to be based on Web 2, and Metaverse it's different from Web 3 because it's a separate domain, and you can say Web 3 is a larger space and Metaverse somewhat fits in that in that domain from the outside, right? Tell me one thing here. Do you see any challenge from apps who are building on Web3? Like, say, there are apps like Dust and Runner who focus on runners, and then there's somebody else like Dot Moves, which is focusing on people doing, say, home workouts or playing football and stuff, and they reward them through crypto tokens and stuff. So, do you see a challenge from Web3 style, companies, rewarding people in terms of crypto, and you? Who are predominantly Web 2 right now, and you're rewarding in terms of vouchers through your gems and stuff like that? What is it from your perspective?
So talking more about the rewarding aspect of it, which is mainly where these Web3 move to earn apps or products are doing. So that's a component of our product, yes, but I would not say it's the primary component. And we can reward with a real world love to partner with Web3 with the examples that you gave, to also have like a shared virtual fitness economy. I think the core aspect of Web3, having democratic access, having a lot more partnerships, and having common infrastructure across different experiences is something which I strongly believe in. Would love to partner with someone for that. In the future, we might also build it ourselves. I'm not fundamentally opposed to it. Having said that, I don't see, again, to iterate on the same thing, I don't see these other companies as competition. I see them more as partners, because it's essentially a decentralized fitness infrastructure, which we can also be a part of. But within our experience itself, it's centralized, because that has its own benefits of development and creation. But when you're building a platform, when you're building some infrastructure which connects different experiences to different people, then yes, Web3 is very useful in that situation.
Got it. Just to add a point over there, I've been trying these Web3 apps for a while now. For example, Dustland Runner, even StepN, which requires you to buy an NFT shoe and then you can run and earn something called GST or Green Satoshi token, which gets converted to USDT and stuff. It's interesting in the fact that you're getting directly rewarded for what you do in terms of, say, it's like a monetary compensation that you're getting. But, it may have certain challenges in terms of tokenomics, which is, people, games like Axie Infinity had their own token economics and they kind of failed and they're trying to, come back in the market. So there are a lot of things when it comes to Web3. It's still developing, as you said. And I think I still believe in the fact that if you can actually pull this concept off in Web2, it'll be much easier for you to actually test things out in Web3. And, because the market is still developing, well, that's what I feel. So I think, what's your perspective on tokenomics? I think, will you ever work on it in the future, or you are still, looking at that probability?
So even before tokenomics, right? So I would like to talk about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And even in extrinsic motivation, I would like to talk about monetary motivation versus motivation via non-monetary aspects of it. So games have this problem. All these games which are coming up on Web3 definitely have this problem where the intrinsic gameplay is not fun and engaging enough, and people are just doing it for earning money. Axie Infinity had the same problem where people were playing it just to get rich. They're not playing it for the intrinsic value of the game itself. And when that happens, the value or the engagement with the game will stay up only as long as the tokens itself have value. And the tokens have value because of the market. The market just believes the token has value, so it keeps on going up. It's a bull market, which is not really backed up on any fundamentals. And for a game, the fundamental is fun, right? So if a game is fun, the trade happening within the game will also be valuable. People will continue to be doing that trade, even if they do not gain a big monetary benefit from doing that. However, if there is no fun in the game, if the core loop itself sucks, the tokens itself will be able to incentivize people to play it only till the tokens have value. And tokens lose value in the bear market given the absence of fun in most of these games. So that's where the very high importance of intrinsic motivation comes in, which for games is fun. For fitness is it's obviously the fitness motivation that people have to get fit to do something for themselves, for improving themselves, and also fun. So unless you crack that first, innovating on tokenomics or innovating on how you can reward people better while having like good financial modeling for your coin, is a fruitless endeavor in the long term. So first you have to get the fun and motivation right, fun and fitness motivation right. After that, you can build up an economy which can either be in Web2 with the kind of tokens that we give on our app, or it can be in Web3, which is like a tradable token which can be used across, traded with anyone.
Correct.
Against
on the exchange.
Yeah. So for me, tokenomics is secondary. First, we focused, laser focused on creating an extremely engaging, motivating experience, backing that up with a centralized currency or a tokens inside the app itself, which you can redeem for some real world rewards. And then once we have cracked this bit, once we have cracked the gamification inside the app, just motivating people by leveraging their intrinsic motivation, that I want to stay consistent for a week, for example, or I want to defeat other people, my friends, in workout battles, for example. Just cracking these intrinsic sources of motivation first before we add in a lot of monetary based incentives on top of that, because the economy will only be robust if the core of it, the intrinsic motivation and fun, is robust.
Got it. Yeah. And I think to just add to your points you made, in Web3, people talk about community, because without a community, there's no Web3 focused applications and stuff, right? So do you think if these, apps, Web3 apps have a strong community, they'll be able to fly, or still they will suffer if their tokenomics and stuff, which you talked about, intrinsic motivation and stuff is not there? So does community play a role over here? Is it important? Even for you as Insane AI, is it important?
Yeah. So community is hugely important, but community has to be done right. So when you talk about Web3 communities, often it's shilling communities, right? It's a group of people who have come together to drive the price of a coin up. So I mean, obviously that's also a community. There are people are in it for like a common goal, for a common purpose, and they are exchanging memes along the way. So that's also a community. But it will die out once that motivation is no longer there. Whereas really strong communities which can survive, which have meaning beyond just shilling, actually have a lot more components to it. People are discussing fitness, people are discussing their progress journeys, their transformations, and just sharing a lot more of life than just what the token is about. So unless you have that kind of a community, which I strongly believe will happen only when there is intrinsic value to the product itself, the community itself is meaningless and will die out if the token loses value.
One thing I want to talk about insane is that the ease of use is there when it comes to the app, right? You just turn on the app, do the exercise, get rewarded with points, gems, and you can actually, cash out the voucher. When it comes to apps like, say, StepN and Dustland and others, the problem is that, you have to, say, sometimes purchase an NFT shoe or some merchandise or some other NFT to actually get started with the game, right? With the app and with the fitness. So it's a barrier to entry right now for me. So I can't really experience this the running bit or the workout bit until I buy that NFT, and that's a challenge for me because I want to work out, and I say I also want to get rewarded and have some sort of intrinsic motivation. I want to work out and get fit and stuff, and also want to get rewarded. Not able to do that currently. That's the biggest challenge I face. Probably it's gonna get rectified soon as people adopt it better and countries adopt crypto better, because that's another factor which is hindering the growth of Web3 apps. So from your perspective, Anurag, what do you think is gonna fly? Web2 apps with fitness apps like which you're doing currently, probably you may shift to Web3, I'm not sure, but yeah, Web2 versus Web3 in the fitness domain, what will fly according to you?
So you're right, there are UX issues to crypto onboarding. Whenever you onboard onto one of these apps, you have to convert your fiat to crypto, and that has a huge UX problem. There's a lot of friction, which is definitely hindering adoption of Web3 currently. And regulation, innovation in UX, innovations from Google and Apple, which gatekeep all of mobile today, that will improve that. So yeah, definitely there will be wider adoption of Web3 based move to earn apps than what it is today. As regards Web2 versus Web3, I think the future will be a mix of both. We will have closed universes such as Roblox or such as Minecraft continue to exist, while we'll also have open universes on which everyone can build on top of. You will see smaller game studios building on a common decentralized Web3 chain. And even in fitness, there will be central players. They are still already quite big. They will continue to exist. They will have their own gamified tokens inside, which we'll be able to use for internal purchases, and there will be decentralized approaches as well. What I believe will happen in the long term is that all your fitness data will be on one common blockchain, which will be shared across the bunch of different centralized as well as decentralized players. Everyone will be writing onto this common blockchain. You'll be able to access your fitness, health data from anywhere, share it to anyone, and all of that one day will be on a decentralized cloud infrastructure. But I don't know how the road towards that looks like.
Interesting, man. And I think just to come out of that Metaverse loop and Web3 loop, I want to understand one thing, that you guys are building from India, right? And probably you're building, for the globe as well, because you have people who are using your app outside of the country, right? So how easy or tough is it to understand a global market, right? Building from India, right? What is it that what does it take to understand such an audience?
Right. That's a great question. So I would argue that we understand European, specifically UK and Netherlands audiences better than we understand Indian audiences. at least in terms of fitness. That's what we have observed from the user behaviors that we have seen of people using our product. If you look at the leaderboard today, 6 out of the top 10 people, actually 7 out of the top 10 people are from Europe, Eastern Europe, UK, Netherlands, basically, and the remaining are Indian. Even though the actual number of users, the ratio of the total number of users is reversed. We have 70% Indian and 30% Europeans.
Okay.
So the reason for this is, firstly, that India does not like to work out, right? It's not something which is an ingrained part of our lifestyle. It's something that we do, that we turn to when we face problems, when we have back pain, when we grow too much belly fat, when we need to get ready for a wedding or something like that. We are very problem solution approach driven. We don't really treat fitness as a core component of our lifestyle. Whereas what we're building is a lifestyle product. We want people to integrate fitness and integrate working out, and not just walking, but actually working out with like a clear progress, with clear indicators to your fitness, and make that a core intrinsic part of yourself. So we see that appealing more to global audiences who are already fitness aware, who care more about the lifestyle components of fitness, who want to have fun while they're working out.
Awesome, man. So, and tell me one more thing here. I was curious to understand that you had received funding for the app, right? And how tough was it to actually, tough or easy was it to actually go out there and pitch your idea and get that funding? Because people would like to understand how not probably the whole process, but what was your idea you took to the investors? How did you reach out to them and got funding for this?
Right. So for me, fundraising is a learning experience, right? You start at a place, you come up with an initial business plan, you have things going for you. I mean, for us, we had the amazing team, Saurabh, Jayesh, and I were great people to build out this kind of a tech-led product. When we had the background as well, we had done our research, we built out a small POC, this is where we had started from, and from then on, talking to investors, talking to various people, pitching them your business plan, and finally and iterating upon it to get to a point where everything, all the different components of the business click together. That is a learning process, a journey in itself. You have to constantly take feedback from any investor you meet. You may or may not stick to your beliefs, but you have to keep on learning. You have to keep on understanding where they're coming from and how, like if they raise a problem in a particular way, that for example, building hardware out of India is hard. No one has done it before, so you should not do that. So you need to have ready explanations or ready answers to that. You need to know, you need to firstly understand why they think it's a problem. It's a legit problem because no one has done it for some reason. And then you need to know why are you the ones that you can solve that or overcome that problem. So answering these series of questions and answers is the process which fundraising is. You start off with your assumptions, you start off with a business plan, which of course you have validated from first principles in your head, but then you get feedback, you iterate upon it, you understand what the challenges will be better as you talk to more and more investors, and then you finally come up with a refined final version of your pitch, of your story, of the product itself, and that's what gets you towards funding. Another thing which people often underestimate is the snowballing effect, right? So you have to have people believing in you to have other people believing in you as well. So you start off with people who you're close to, who trust you already. You start the fundraising snowball from there, and then it picks up momentum, and you gather the bigger fish until you finally close the round. So that's something which works really well. We raised funding. We raised about $900,000 from Pi Ventures, who lives around. They're great partners to have on board. They're deep tech VC specializing in artificial intelligence, deep health tech, space tech, etc. Then we also got people like Anupam Mittal, Sameer Pitalwala, Ujjwal Sutaria people who are into sports, into culture, into gaming, who have really helped us along the journey. So investing, raising funds not only gives you the money, which is of course an essential component if you are to build like a deep tech company with a longer gestation time, but it also gives you these amazing partners, mentors, and friends who are in it with you for the journey.
And I think funding is just one part of the journey, right? There are many more challenges you face as an entrepreneur every day. What are those challenges that are kind of bugging you all the while, and you keep answering calls probably, or try and solving them every day, right? What are those problems,
right? So
as an entrepreneur?
It's a new problem every day, right? As an entrepreneur, life is never the same problem every day. It's you see something new happening every day or every other day. The biggest problems that are on my mind today are, I mean, they're very operational in nature, like cracking the right set of people to associate with, for example, or cracking the right marketing message, cracking the right kind of user behavior, which we can optimize on, and of course cracking fun. So integrating fun in the product, creating an experience which is beautiful, which is really well designed. Those have been the problems over the last few months that we have spent most of our energy on, building something which people love, building experiences, building a product which really blows people's minds away. And there are several processes which allow you to do that, which you have to follow to get to having built a product like that. Taking constant user feedback, having all channels of communication open with your existing users. So we have them on chat, we keep interacting with them on various channels, on email, chat. In the app, we integrated a chat functionality so that we could be in better touch with our users. And we have reviews, we're responding to them, and so on. So that is maybe the most impactful thing that one can do as an entrepreneur, being like in constant communication with the end user of your product,
the customer.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. And I think since you're a serial entrepreneur as well, and you're doing this startup, people talk a lot about things which you should do to create a startup, or should know, and stuff like that. And what does it take from your perspective? What does it take to actually do a business or create a startup, right? And probably take it forward and even flourish. From your perspective, what does it take?
So at its very core, I think there are only two things which are absolutely essential. The first is a willingness to learn and iterate. You have to get what you have inside you out as quickly as possible, be it a product, be it a service, be it a skill, and get feedback on that, understand what's missing, understand what users want, and keep on building, learning, iterating on top of that. So this is absolutely essential. And the second one is endurance and persistence. Persistence, basically. The first process will give you a lot of failures. It will not work. It may not work for a very long period of time. But you have to continuously keep on iterating, keep on keep at it. Be persistent until you crack product market fit or crack whatever business requires. So yeah, I mean, these two things are all that you need. Everything else will come as a result of this process of constantly iterating and never stopping.
Awesome, man. I had one more question, man. I think I should ask it. That you have a team with you who is working, right? And probably you're growing as well in terms of numbers. How do you build that team, and how do you actually find those people who have a similar vision as to yours, and then grow with you? How do you do that?
That's a great question. So we have really built an amazing team, and I would say it's been self-selected in some sense. Like the team itself were looking out for companies such as ours, which sort of matched what they wanted to do in life, and which also matched their interests, aspirations, cultural tendencies, and so on. So, for example, Abhishek, earliest people who joined the company, he's a full stack engineer, but he's also a bodybuilder, right? So he can squat 200 kilos.
Wow.
He is also a dancer. He takes dance classes online as well as at various companies. He's also the most flexible person I know. He can do a front split. So it's people like
Nice.
these. Abhishek, I had worked with in my previous company as well, and when he got to know that I'm building something in fitness, he immediately reached out and said, "Okay, fun. This looks fun. This looks something very interesting," and that's how he got on board. Similarly, there are other people. We have the youngest yoga instructor in Bangalore who is also part of the team. Other people
Right.
like Anand, Kushali, etc. They really love gaming, and which is what attracted them to Insane. So yeah, it's basically interests. People who are interested in the company automatically reached out to us. We found them
Yeah.
great fits, and that's how they got into the team.
Awesome. And I think that was a great answer. And I think that's all I had in terms of questions, Anurag. I think it was great having this chat with you around product, fitness, tech, and entrepreneurship. And you shed some great light on that aspect. And I wish you all the luck in terms of growth. I know you'll go on to become a big product and a great company, because I myself love this concept of insane AI. And, it's been great talking to you, man.
Likewise, thanks a lot, Divyansh. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.